So I'm Emma Hannah from West College, Scotland, the Learning Technology Team Leader. And we have two other learning technologists in the team, and Raymond, the Innovative Learning Manager. So since our merger about 10 years ago, we've been upgrading our Moodle versions and tweaking the themes, but we have developed a bit of a habit of carrying over all the Moodle courses and all the content year after year, merely updating the class codes and relying on curriculum staff to update the content and deleting courses. But we only delete courses if we're specifically asked. So often we find ourselves hiding courses rather than removing them entirely because they want a wee backup. And this approach led to an accumulation of outdated and inactive courses, with many just being hidden rather than properly removed. The situation worsened during COVID-19, and when many lecturers shifted to using Teams, leaving behind even more redundant courses in Moodle. And on top of this, inconsistent course naming, for example, like Emma's communication course, made it hard to manage or automate any processes. When the college decided to implement Civica, a new student record system, we saw the perfect opportunity to declutter and restructure our Moodle. The aim was to streamline the system, align it with Civica, and ensure a more efficient future, especially in preparation for potential automation. So before diving into the changes, it's important that you understand how we organise our Moodle courses. We have three general types. So we've got a course home, which is the main course page, which contains general information and links to individual units. We've got the course units, which is a course dedicated to a specific unit or subject, containing its content, assessment, and content. Then we have a standalone course, which is a self-contained course, which all content is within a single Moodle course, and it usually doesn't have any links to any other units or pages. We started by gathering feedback from the college community. We met with various colleges, some of them that are here, and asked questions on their use, support, and structure of VLEs, including what naming conventions they followed. We had been discussing the possibility of changing our rollover process anyway. Usually what we do is we create a new instance of Moodle every year, and we take a clone of the current year, usually around Easter, and then install a new version and reset the courses ready for the new academic year. We would then archive the old one during the summer, making the clone continue as a live one then. Only really giving staff access to the archive. But however, staff have increasingly requested student access to previous coursework, and after speaking to colleagues in other colleges and universities, we thought it would be useful for students to automatically have access to the previous year's work. The new process would involve creating a copy of the current year's Moodle courses and adding them to the same instance of for next year's course, allowing students access to their previous year's work as well as the new year. To enable this, we needed a consistent naming convention for courses. As we deliver courses at multiple campuses, we needed not only a way to show what year the courses are for, but we needed a method to show which campus the Moodle course are for, and also a way to show if staff are using the same Moodle course across multiple campuses. As we all know, we knew that it wasn't going to be a case of one size fit all. We took the opportunity to realign the categories. Over the years, there had been several departmental realignments, which were not fully reflected in Moodle. Originally, the structure was deeply nested, with each category containing multiple layers of subcategories, making it long and cumbersome to find courses, especially for the admins. Within the section category, you would find the home pages for the courses, and each course would have a category containing the units. Over the years, as course names changed, these categories might not have been updated, and the links to the unit might not have been deleted from the home page, creating a bit of a mess, basically. We decided to reduce the number of categories you have before reaching your course. Additionally, we combined the homepage into the units category to minimise confusion about which homepage corresponds to which unit. More about that in a minute. We opted to base our naming conventions primarily on the data from Civica. So far, we've updated all the homepages and standalone courses. However, the unit courses are still a work in progress. as we haven't yet been able to match all the active Moodle subjects to their corresponding subjects in Civica. We've successfully matched around 2/3, but since this was done manually, we need to consult with curriculum teams before making any further changes. As we've already partway through the term, we are being cautious to avoid confusing students and staff by renaming their courses without prior notice. So we needed to reduce the 3,604 courses to be cluttering Moodle. Without start and end dates in place historically, I had to rely on a combination of data points, so content activity, last login dates, and course creation dates. Using filters, I identified courses that hadn't been accessed in over 2 years and removed those that were no longer relevant. This reduced the number of courses to 1,364, just over 1/3 of the original total. It's a lot of courses. With the courses trimmed down, we turned our attention to improving their structure. As I mentioned, we had a layered category system where home pages and units were placed in different categories, linked manually by URLs. This led to confusion when URLs were visible, but units were hidden, or vice versa. To simplify this, we reorganized categories by sector and departments, placing home pages and units together in the same category. This not only reduced the number of categories, but also made it easier to navigate. By using Moodle filter codes plugin and adding some JavaScript, we created dynamic links between the home pages and units, ensuring that if a course or a unit is hidden, the corresponding link is also hidden from students. And Raymond's now going to expand on how this was achieved.
So here's an example of the way that we've actually done it as Emma's described. So you have the home page, and you have the units underneath. So HNC cybersecurity, C24 is the course, it's the home page, and everything else underneath is units, subjects. In university speak, that would be modules associated with it. As Emma said, we were using filter codes, and we've been using that for a while to produce things like personalization, etc., etc. So we use the filter code course cards category ID, and there's an admin setting in Moodle for when you're using filter codes for this type of filter, and it's a list. So this is what this filter code actually produces. So you can see there's a list. So for the HNC cybersecurity, it also refers to itself. So you can see it at the top. So that's not great, and there's a whole lot of superfluous information around category, etc., etc. So we wanted to have a different way of outputting that. So with some quick development, cycles over the summer, we were looking for something to kind of come up with something quick that would be kind of reasonable. And so using the same filter code, but also using some JavaScript manipulation, we were able to kind of suck in the information that was coming from the filter code and output it in a different way. So you can see from here, we no longer have the link to itself, because that's the homepage course, so it's not linking to itself, and it's only listing the actual associated units. So that was very, very simple output. And what Emma and her team were able to do is go into all the existing courses and add the necessary JavaScript code that would be called by all courses, and then change the actual many templates. We have about 3 templates. Right. Change the template, so any new courses that were going to be created would also have this in place as well. And then you can see, here's another example of when you go into a unit, it just refers to the home page. So this is all kind of done automatically, dynamically. So previously, as Emma said, to get those links inside those home pages and units, they all had to be done manually. So this is no longer the case. This is all working dynamically. So, now that we had something working, we were looking to improve the user experience. So this is an example of a design proposal. So we've got something working. We had to get it working quickly. So this is sort of a proposal. We've got many kind of proposals. This is one of them, which is using a card type system with a button where a student would actually click on, the purple button that says access course to get where they want to go. And then at the bottom, you can see it similarly to the actual home-based course. It just links to, the unit course just links to the homepage. And then we've got, another design proposal. I think we've got probably about 10 in total, where it's kind of similar, where we don't have a button to say go to course, but we've got a little image for the Moodle course icon. And we just another thing at the bottom here, just to show that it's actually, responsive as well. So, just to reiterate, one of the good things about the way we've actually developed all this is that if we want to change the actual way that something's presented on the screens to our users, it's really simple, because all we need to do is change the central global JavaScript file, and everything changes. So we've got a test server, and so we can actually, with all the courses, as a copy of all the courses in the college, so we can actually just change the JavaScript globally, and everything will update, and we can do our own testing, etc. So one of the other developments that I'd wanted to see with regard to on our Moodle, we use Ally, and one of the things I really wanted to see, and Anthology had been promised it for a number of years, and unless something's changed recently, I don't think this is available. And we wanted an accessibility score on our Moodle course front page. The only way you can actually get to see the accessibility score and an indicator is by going into the accessibility report. And this is the sort of thing that you would actually see. And I was looking to get it onto the front page, and there are reasons why I wanted to have on the front page, which we'll explain. And so here's an example of where we've got this actually working. So you can see in the top right-hand corner, this is one of the enhancement units in the college. So there's about 25 enhancement units that have been developed by the learning technology team and myself, or been updated over the number of years. And it's a case of the accessibility score is there. And one of the reasons why we want that there is so to show good practice to our staff and students so that they can see this, and hopefully other teachers, lecturers take on board that accessibility is actually important. And when they look at the enhancement units, they say, oh, that's well structured. It's got alt tags, it's got structure, it's got narrative, it's got captions on videos. It's got, before you go into something, it actually tells you what it is. And actually, if it's a video or an interactive exercise, it gives you an estimate of how long it should take you to do that. So that's one of the reasons why we put it in our enhancement units. Here's another example, one of our enhancement units. And you can see in the top right-hand corner, we've got 100%. So one of the reasons why we've only done it on enhancement units is because we're in control of the enhancement units. We know that they're fairly accessible. They all are in the high 90%. So as I said before, we want to kind of disseminate good practice and show this to students and staff. Whereas with regard to rolling this out across all courses in the college, there's a number of reasons why we haven't done that. Number one is because there's probably going to be courses that have low accessibility, and staff are going to freak out and say, oh, my students can see this is really bad, although we can turn it off so students don't see it. The other issue is that this actual indicator, the data that it reads, is not dynamic. It's not dynamic. So, and the reason why it's not dynamic is we haven't got to that bit yet about trying to pull out the information dynamically. So in these enhancement units, we've got a number of custom fields, and one of the custom fields that we've put in manually is accessibility score. So we put that in manually, and it means that through filter codes of using filter codes where we're pulling out the custom filter code, is we can then read that, and then in the Moodle page, we can actually then build some JavaScript code around producing an indicator and showing that to students. So so one of the things that we're looking to do is, from now on, is if we were to roll this out globally across the college, is we're going to have to try and find and get a way of producing that value accessibility score, getting it dynamically. So we're either going to have to, I don't think the Ally API is kind of open to us. I don't think we can use that. You can do it through Power BI. So there might be a way that we can actually have some sort of way of using Power BI and some sort of kind of polling mechanism that will update that value automatically. Or we might be able to do it through screen scraping, of the accessibility report. So we might be able to do that. So that's something that we're going to be looking at in the future. And, we're quite open if people are interested in this as well, of having something like that. So essentially that gauge could be used for anything. It could, it doesn't have to be accessibility. It can just be any score that you're trying to show on the page. It could be a rating. It could be something else. But we're going to be working with our IT department to see if we can somehow get that actual value out. But again, as I said, if people are interested and maybe know a way of doing it, we'd be happy to collaborate. I'll go back to Emma.
So these changes have made Moodle easier to navigate, more consistent with Civica, and they're simpler to manage. The streamlined structure and naming conventions will help for future automation, reducing manual work and potential errors. By aligning Moodle more closely with Civica, we're also ensuring that the system will grow with us, providing a stable, manageable platform for both staff and students. As I said, we plan to copy and reset active Year 1 courses as Year 2 in the same instance of Moodle. This is the first year that we're doing it, so we'll see how it goes. But we do plan to use filter codes to make the current year show on the homepage for the student. But we're still working on how my courses on the dashboard will look. So that's it.
Okay. Any questions? I know University of Glasgow use Ally as well with Moodle, so potentially he presented for us before. Drew McConnell, is it that tends to do a lot of work in that area?
Yeah,
if Drew knows.
Yeah, I was also going to say that. So when I started thinking about doing this, I kind of knew that Steve Appleton from Five Colleges was also doing something similar. So it was kind of a conversation with him in the summer, early summer. And it was kind of like he was doing something similar. And it was kind of a conversation about, it is actually possible.
Right.
So, I just thought I'd mention that as well.
No, I really appreciate it. Any questions? Jamie?
One observation, some may not know I used to work there, and I'm familiar with the setup at West College, and it's good to see the way that the archives have been managed, because that was always a point of contention. How do you give people access to their archive? How long do you keep it for? And in the archive, Moodle then becomes the kind of dumping ground. So it's good to obviously you've had the go ahead to kind of clear that out, and giving the existing students access to an archive is something we're doing at UWS, looking into how we delegate that access, whether we give them automatically, whether we give it based on whether they need it for the course, or whether we do it, we don't give them access. So I good to see that. So
a lot of the kind of my thinking was around, and Emma's mention about needing to change things was around having come from a university, background before, is that the places I worked is that students would get access to previous work because it would be relatable to what they're actually studying now, but also from the point of view of lecturers being able to go back and look at things for quality assurance reasons, and actually having, and we've talked about it today, X years worth of data to go back and be able to have a look at.
I mean, we'll finish up, but I mean, it's really interesting that you're proposing making that accessibility score visible to lecturers, possibly hiding it from students, because that would be diplomatic. Possibly. There's a lot of stuff in the past about people who used to grade gold, silver, bronze, about how good their courses were based on how collaborative or how interactive, or if it was just basic information. Lots of stuff allowed.
That's quite good.
Yeah. It's a good idea, but it's a thorny area to tackle when you're trying to engage people with the digital platform.
It was to try and engage the lecturers, to try and at least put something on their pages rather than just a PowerPoint.
It's just that balance of whether they feel they're being judged or criticised or.
Yeah, so one of the things, this is around a whole kind of strategy around, we've got our enhancement units, and we collectively try and design them the way they're meant to be designed.
That's great.
And so we do that. We then are re-emphasising by having the accessibility score. We've also got a course on basically accessibility for digital education and how to use Ally. Again, we have difficulty of getting people to engage with that. We're having difficulties trying to make that course mandatory. And you know, Alison McNaught, a couple of years ago, he wrote a report on X number of years before the Equality Act, blah blah blah, and his data had said that his analysis had said where institutions had actually made accessibility training mandatory, there'd been an improvement. Whereas if you just left it to anybody to do it if they wanted to, there wasn't an improvement. Yeah. So it's kind of like trying to get people to engage with it without having to do mandatory training, although we're still going down that round. So they kind of see, oh, why has this got a 98% score? Oh, because it's structure, it's got instructions, it's got narrative, it's got all these kind of wee things. And hopefully, you know, through osmosis, maybe the penny kind of drops.
If you can show the example that you've got it working in a good standard courses, maybe we'll ask for a sneak peek of some of those courses at some point in the future.